morning and welcome to the Thursday, May 13th edition of the Island Stat Sports Brief. I'm Earl Baston. Delray Rollins has taken to the field for Sussex as they took on Kent, winning the toss and sending Kent to bat. With the latest update after 17 overs, Kent are 35 for 2. During the IslandStats.com sports show last evening, Mike Sands, the president of NACAC, explained reasons behind the cancellation of the Carifta games.
Unfortunately, first of all, it was a very painstaking decision, but it was a process. It didn't just happen overnight. It didn't happen on a whim. We know and understood and recognize the implications that having to cancel these events would have on the development of our sport, our young athletes throughout our region. And so this process started back in December when we had to move it again, and we conducted a survey among the members as to where should we put the games, because we knew we had to change it for the CXC exams, and then we had to move it on down the line. So there was always continuous consultation with the membership, because the membership, we operate in transparency, we operate with collective responsibility, we operate with inclusion. And so we arrive at the point where we've been in constant communication with the membership, the LOC, of course. I've even sat in on a few meetings of the LOC of Bermuda, and I did everything in my power, we all did, to ensure that these games, hoping that these games would come off. I think the tipping scale was the fact that the Bermuda authorities, and let me say without fear of contradiction otherwise, we at NACAC in no way would ever suggest or attempt or even imply that the health authorities, the national security, the national health of any nation should come before the Carifta Games. And so we realized that, we understood that. But I think the tipping scale would have obviously been when we were informed that certain things were non-negotiable. And I think the optimum word was non-negotiable. And that had to do with when you say that unvaccinated persons had to be quarantined for 14 days. I want you to pause and think about that for a second. Quarantine for 14 days. You're going to a 2-day event, and you have to be quarantined for 14 days. That is not logical. That is not realistic on behalf of the participants of that event. That's the first tipping scale. And then when the other position was that, because when you bear in mind that our largest division, right, and our most vulnerable division is our under 17, and in our area, obviously they're not going to be vaccinated. They're not going to be vaccinated under 16, under 18. So that alone impacted another 50% of our participants. So when you break it down logically and logistically, and then you talk about transportation getting there, the logistics of getting there, and we could not be kept in a bubble. There was no one decision that caused us to arrive at that. Charters had to be paid for, at least deposits made. Persons had to make reservations because you're now going into the summer period. Okay, and so when the term non-negotiable came to the forefront, the membership and the executive said, well, we have to understand that, we have to accept it. It is very, very difficult to accept, but the entire membership, painstakingly, but we have to accept it. That's your protocol, that's your rules, that's your regulations, and we accepted it. And so at the end of the day, because we, as a body, because our business is to really, competition, what have you not. So by no way is there any politics involved from our side. We just had to take the painstaking decision with having to cancel the event, because planning was a major factor to begin with. And the non-negotiable position was the tipping scale.
Radcliffe Football Club have congratulated Cole Hall on his call-up to the Bermuda men's national team for the upcoming World Cup matches. BlackRock FC Residential Academy Northwood soccer player Anaze Aswood has committed his men's football future to the University of Nebraska, Omaha. The Bermuda Football Association Player Development Committee announced a landmark sponsorship with Footy Promotions Youth Futsal League. The Professional Golf Association resumed their monthly medal championship series with action at the Port Royal Golf Course. After having a layoff due to the government's stay-home order, Dwayne Pearman continued his dominance in the field, picking up a 3-stroke win over Tolton Smith. Pearman shot a 3 over par 74, with Smith shooting 6 over par 77. Brian Morris finished third with a round of 7 over par 78. Couture Beaufort Trot represented Montverde Academy Women's Track and Field during the Florida High School Athletics Association's Track and Field State Championships. Beaufort Trot finished 5th in Heat 2 of the women's 100-meter dash, clocking a time of 12:17 that saw her finish 5th overall. With a time of 24:90, Beaufort Trot finished 7th in Heat 2 of the women's 200-meter dash varsity race. This time saw her finish 7th overall. The 2021 race season got off to a fair start for the Fab Racing Minibike British Championships, where Azai Devine managed his best races within the championship since he entered last year. Race 1 of round 1 saw Devine finish 2nd. He would win race 2 before finishing 9th in race 3. After several meetings and consultation with experts, we can now finally confirm that the 2021 Junior Pan Am Games will take place between November 25th and December 5th. A postseason run for James Finnegan and his St. Mary's men's tennis teammates ended as they fell 4-0 to Cameron in the NCAA Division II South Central Regional Final. St. Mary's only doubles victory came at the number 1 spot as Jermaine Sanchez and Finnegan picked up a 6-2 victory. Playing in the number 5 single spot, Finnegan was down 3-2 in the first set when the match was halted as Cameron had the 4 wins needed to win the match. For only the second time this season, Adam Hole and his Aberdeen Ironbird teammates tasted defeat as they went down. And that's a look at this Thursday, May 13th edition of the Island Stat Sports Brief. I'm Earl Baston.